We want to welcome you to our Introduction to First Impressions class. I'm Shannon Boone.
And I'm Andrea Rains.
We want to just give you an overview of the ministry today. First of all, thank you so much for serving with us. This class is more designed for those of you that are first coming on to the team to give you, like I said, an overview of the whole First Impressions ministry, because there's a lot of teams that make up the umbrella of First Impressions. And then as you get serving in your specific team area, then you'll have the more concentrated training for that position. For those of you that have been on the team for a while, we just want everyone to get a reminder and also to get everyone on the same page as we're serving together.
We're going to start out talking about what we do as far as the overall structure and those details, and then we're going to talk about why we do what we do in First Impressions, why it's important. Then we're going to talk about some of the hows, the specific how we serve our guests, and then there will be a tour.
First of all, we wanted to give you a little insight on how we got into First Impressions. For me, it was 7 years ago. Ron Morris, the church administrator, came to my house and met with my husband, Aaron, and I, and explained that there was a need to get First Impressions organized and develop this ministry. I, at the time, had just had my first child, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe now is not the time for me. But God had other plans, and we took it on together, and he worked alongside me in the ministry for years, but it came to a point where he felt more led to concentrate on the music that he loves so much, so he's more on the platform ministry side. But then God provided someone else.
My husband and I, Dave, are both from Mid-Ohio Valley, and we moved back to the area in 2011, and we looked at a lot of different churches, but we ended up back at North, where my husband grew up. And we saw in the bulletin coffee making as a way to get involved. So we started doing that together, making the coffee. And at that time, the coffee makers and the coffee station attendants were one and the same. So we'd make coffee on Saturdays and man the stations on Sunday mornings. And then Shannon approached us after a couple months about leading the hospitality team. So Dave and I did that for a while. And then Shannon approached me about getting more involved overall with First Impressions. And like Shannon's husband, Dave is serving in other areas now. He's working with the youth. So this is where I stayed, and it's been neat to see God's hand in it along the way.
So as we see people's gifts and learn more about, we're always looking for new leaders. So as Andrea and Dave were just so reliable and dependable, obviously it made a nice fit to have her join me and some further leadership. We want to give you the mission of our team. It's simple. It sounds so simple, but it is so important. It's making guests want to come back to North. Once they come back, they, and they feel comfortable because we've given them a warm welcome. Then they are open to hearing God's word by sitting there and not being as nervous as, you've been somewhere and it's your first time somewhere, you get a little nervous. But if we help them feel comfortable that first morning, they're open to God's word through Pastor Mike, then they come back and they get to further develop, and life change happens. And we also will explain a little further how our purpose ties in with the overall purpose of North Parkersburg Baptist.
Now we're going to look at the overall structure of the First Impressions ministry. You have the director and assistant director, and then we have team leaders that report to both the director and assistant director. And then we have the team members under each of those, and we're going to look at each team a little closer.
Now we're going to go through each position on the welcome team and explain a little further what those folks do. The parking lot attendants, they're the first people that you see when you pull into the parking lot. They're the first smiles. They might help people across the street or who have their hands full with little kids. On a day where it's rainy or icy or snowy, they're helping people get across the street or maybe even find a parking spot just to help. Greeters, they are at the station at each of the doors to just be that smiling face when you walk in. And then they also can answer questions and give you information that you might need as you come in and look for your ministry destination. The next set of folks, the ushers. The only difference, and I always clarify here, only difference between the greeter and the usher is that the ushers have bulletins in their hand. Everyone will help with offering if they feel comfortable, but the usher is stationed inside the doors with bulletins to give people as they come in. They're the folks, too, that we ask if someone needs walked or escorted to a ministry destination, it's their first time here and they're coming with kids and we need to take them to their children's area, then they can hand off their bulletins to the greeters and the ushers can walk them, because that way, the greeter, we don't want them to leave the door, but they can do, dual role till you get back, or pull someone else over to make sure that they're covering your spot when you walk away. Minglers, that's a position that people kind of just walk around the worship center and just say hi. We might pull minglers in a lot to fill in for another position that maybe somebody couldn't be there that morning at the last minute because they were sick. But their job is just to go around and make people feel welcome. Section greeters, that gets a little more specific. We assign 1 to 2 people per service to a section of pews. In that section, they're helping people grow their relationships, build on relationships, meet people. It's a baby step process. They get to know people and say hi, and eventually they feel comfortable introducing them to other people in the section. Right there is where we're trying to make the big church feel small within the section. So they get to know people within their section, they get to feel connected, and then they're more likely to stay. Information desk assistant or attendant, that person is over there to answer questions at guest services. Whether it be you ordered a CD from a previous sermon, you can pick it up there. She can answer questions about events happening in the church. Pretty much anything going on, the person that works the information desk can help you with that.
Hospitality team, and our goal is to extend hospitality to guests by offering them food and beverages. And that's one of the first things you do when someone comes to your house, is you offer them something to drink or a snack or something. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to make people feel at home when they come into our church. So we have a leader over the hospitality team, and then on the hospitality team we have coffee makers who come in on Saturdays or Fridays. That's a flexible schedule type of thing. They come in when they can and they put together the big coffee pots, restock all the stations, make sure everything's ready to go for Sunday morning. And then we have an early crew who comes in, and because those big coffee pots take a while to brew, so that person turns on the coffee pots, fills the juice containers, those things that have to wait till Sunday morning, and gets everything further ready for our guests to come in. And then once before services, we have coffee station attendants, and we have one for each service at each coffee station, one on the 31st Street side and one on the Prayer Garden side. And coffee station attendants are sort of like greeters, and that they are there greeting people at the station, helping people if they have their hands full or looking for something, and they're keeping the station neat and tidy and making sure the supplies are all replenished and everything. And that's kind of a neat position because you kind of have a captive audience. You kind of have more of an opportunity to talk to people while they're stopped mixing their coffee or whatever. And then we would like to eventually add a cleanup crew. Right now, the second service coffee station attendants are the ones who do all the cleanup, but we would kind of like to add a separate team that could help get that done a little quicker so everybody can get home to their families after services.
And our third team that makes up the First Impressions Ministry is the outreach team. And the goal is to reach out to our guests and our community. Our leader here helps us kind of organize this team in the sense of it's broken up into some sub-teams as well. One of those teams being the bakers of men. There's a group of ladies, it could be men, but all of them right now are ladies, that bake. It's usually about once every 5-6 weeks. They bring in on Sunday morning, and we put what they bring as baked goods into, currently it's tins. It could be something different later, but right now it's tins that we prepare to give out at our guest services table after services for those people that come. And that's the people in evangelism team, that the PI team, or you'll often hear them referred to, especially in our weekly emails, the PI team, they are the ones that man the desk or the table that they reference at the end of service for our first-time guests to come visit. And it's not always first-time guests, I should say. We have people that maybe have been coming for a couple weeks or a month, but they finally feel comfortable to go and talk to someone, meet someone, ask questions about North. But at that table, the people in evangelism, PI team, they answer those questions. They are just doing a visit in-house. We used to do visits where we went to their houses, but we made a change and we saw that we got a much greater response when we had the visit right here in church. They felt more comfortable, and God's provided some great successes through our ministry that way. Finally, there's an area that we're looking to, with God's help, to expand or to create, I should say, is community outreach. The deacons do some of this now, and the deaconesses as well, but we want to pair up with, whether it be one of those teams or another ministry, and eventually do some community outreach. Like I said, our goal is to make guests want to come back, but we feel like we would like to, have a hand in helping people feel comfortable enough to come. We can always invite people, but it's always, when you see love in action, it makes, speaks volumes much better than words. So we're hoping that maybe we can grow that and expand the ministry in that area.
All right, this dream big idea, Shannon and I were going through some training materials called Volunteer Rocket, and they really encouraged you to dream big in your ministry, to think about all the positions that you could possibly want, that not that you had right now, but that if you could have whatever you wanted, what you would have. And so these dream big org charts that we're going to go through are some of what Shannon and I came up with, our brainstorm, and it's neat to see that God's already filled some of these positions. But first I'm going to go through the overall Dream Big leadership. And in addition to our regular team leaders, we've just added a couple new positions. We have an administrative assistant to help with some of the administrative duties with a big team, about 150 people on the team. There's just a lot of administrative duties. So this person helps us with that. And then a facilities coordinator would help with our areas. We have several different closets that are kind of our team areas, as well as the coffee station and the info desk, things like that. And the facilities coordinator would help us maintain those areas, make sure things are looking good and good shape. We recently revamped the coffee stations. They would help with something like that, with those sorts of projects. And then we have a special events coordinator who would help us with special events such as our annual appreciation luncheon, the classes that we put on, social events. We'd like to get our team together more, just so we can get to know one another more. So those were the overall positions that we added in our dream.
And we say this is a dream big that we did. It's not been quite a year maybe since we did this, but we say that this might still change. That's the beauty of dreaming, right? We can change, and we might add or remove different positions, but just to give you an overall, this is where we are right now, where we feel like God's having us work toward. I'm going to break it down real quick. Since I already explained the other teams, I'm going to just kind of give you some of the highlights of the positions that have been added under those with that Dream Big. First of all, in each team, there will be a team care coordinator. And then under them, a care group coordinator. Now, I'm going to start with the smaller, the care group, or I should say larger, the care group coordinator. The idea behind that is that we would take, I'm just throw out a number, 6 to 10 people that a care group coordinator would be assigned to within the welcome team. They would then check in with those 6 to 10 people each week, see how the week's going, see if they have any prayer requests, maybe pray with them over the phone. Just being helping us stay educated with how people on our team are doing, and just being able to encourage people. Like Andrea said, there's a lot of you guys, and there's 2 of us, and we try really hard, but there's only so much time in a day, so we need some help in that area. And then over them, the team care coordinator would check on the care group coordinators who check on the smaller groups, and they would just make sure that they are checking with the people that they are assigned to, and also that they're getting loved on and encouraged and getting prayed for. So kind of a trickle-down effect. And then with each of the positions under the welcome team that I mentioned before, your parking, your ushers, all those, they would have a coordinator. That coordinator would help when someone new comes onto the team, help us train them. And that's where we talked earlier about getting a specific training. They would shadow at first a couple times before we said, hey, you're on your own now. We don't want to send somebody in to do it without them feeling comfortable. So that would give them time to watch. That would give them time to do it alongside the person that they're shadowing with, but also a time maybe to do it by themselves and get some feedback. So we'll base that on how comfortable you guys feel, but just also that person would then be that contact person, so you could go back and say, hey, my schedule this month is different than it is typically, and so that one person can kind of coordinate with all the parking lot attendants and then report back to us that, the folks that are doing the schedules, and you'll see that with every one of those positions. Same thing with the hospitality team. So you see there, each position, coffee makers, coffee station, all will have coordinators they report to. Again, the same structure with the team care coordinator and the group care group coordinator as well. Again, the same thing with the outreach team. Coordinators for every position. You will see one thing there different that you didn't see on a previous slide with outreach is the bus ministry. Right now, the Greater Things campaign, that is one thing that they're trying to take the funds from that campaign and build back that the buses, and to be able to implement a bus ministry again. But we would love to see, maybe before we get to that point even with the buses, that maybe we work out some ways where we know people might need a ride, and maybe we could pair people up or help people find a way to church, and eventually God's going to provide those buses or vans for Sunday morning that we might need to get that ministry up and rolling again.
Now we're going to talk about why we do what we do as a First Impressions ministry, why it's important. And we're going to look at some scriptures that show us that God commands it. And these two scriptures are from Leviticus and Exodus, and they both talk about when the Israelites, him telling the Israelites that they needed to remember when they were strangers, when they were new. When a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as a native among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And the next one is very similar. You shall not oppress a stranger, since you yourselves know the feelings of a stranger, for you were also strangers in the land of Egypt. So God tells us to do it, just like he told the Israelites to do it. And then Jesus demonstrated hospitality. He demonstrated why it's important. In Luke, Jesus was trying to get away. He was tired. But the crowds were following him anyway. But they followed him, and welcoming them, he began speaking to them about the kingdom of God and curing those who had need of healing. So he was tired, but he still took the time to welcome them. And right after this, he actually fed them. So we're not exactly feeding the 5,000, but we still provide refreshment. So he met their needs. He saw their needs, and he met them. Going along with that, in Mark, it says, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others. So this is our way of serving those who come through our doors and meeting their needs. And then Paul also talks about it in Romans. He says, welcome one another, therefore, as Christ has welcomed you for the glory of God.
Another reason why we do what we do is because we are part of First Impressions Ministry, part of North Parkersburg Baptist, and our overall mission for the church. We see it on bulletins, you'll hear everyone say it. The purpose is to be a community of believers that no matter who you are, you can experience life change through Jesus Christ. We have a hand in that. It might seem like, well, how is serving coffee or saying hi a part of that? But it all plays a part. As we mentioned earlier, if you come in and you feel comfortable, you're more open to the Word of God. Life change happens. People get involved in ministry. Community is built. Things happen. So that's how we are tying it all in, and that's why we do what we do. And then there's that old saying that everyone, you've heard say, you never have a second chance to make a first impressions. How true is that? And we can hopefully make a good first impression. Going along with why we do what we do, there were some statistics and researching why first impressions is so important in churches. These are some of the key ones that I really felt led to share with our team as encouragement and as motivation that our job is very important, but also can be difficult. Guests make quick decisions. Most guests form an opinion of a church as they drive into the parking lot and within 30 seconds of entering the front door. And that was from a book, Get Ready for Company by Gary McIntosh. We have a tough job. 30 seconds, they haven't even heard Pastor Mike yet. And so we kind of joke about that we have to do a good job or they're not even going to hear him. So our work's cut out for us. And 70% of guests come with little or no understanding of our church. And that was also from Gary McIntosh in a different book, Beyond the First Visit, and how, our building, we always talk about how it's so big from the outside and can be kind of intimidating to find your way. So if you come in here with little or no knowledge of our church, or maybe not a church at all, it can be tough. So our job is to make sure that you feel comfortable and get where you need to be and learn about our church.
All right, now we're moving into how we do it. First of all, by showing hospitality. And looking at a couple other scriptures, share with God's people who are in need, practice hospitality. And like I said earlier, it's about meeting needs. When people come through the door, it's not just the food need, not the hunger need. We want to meet their spiritual need and their emotional need. We want them to feel loved and valued and welcomed. So that's part of what we're trying to do. And in Hebrews, do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Now we're gonna look at who we are serving, what is their perspective, and what do we do with them. I love this, talking about seeing people as guests versus visitors, because visitors are often unwelcomed, but guests are expected. Visitors just show up and guests are invited. Visitors are expected to leave and guests are expected to stay. Visitors come one time and guests return again, which is what our goal with First Impression is, to make them come back. So looking at people as a guest, as wanted, invited. That's so important. And how do guests want to be treated? And it's kind of common sense. How do you want to be treated? With respect, love, acceptance, warmth, kindness. So how can we show them that? With very simple things, just talking to people, just making eye contact with people, smiling at them, talking to them, asking them how they are, and actually listening for how they are doing. Hanging out with them, like I said, talking with them, a touch, just a simple, a pat. Some people don't get that. And so that just is an expression of love and caring, so that they feel like they're wanted. And I know it's hard to remember people's names, but it makes such a big difference if you remember someone's name. I remember seeing a little girl, and I'd met her and her dad a couple weeks before, and I called her by name, and she just lit up. Someone knew her name. She mattered. So I encourage you to try to remember names if you can. Sometimes Shannon and I will jot down if we had a conversation with someone, so that you can kind of have something to trigger your memory and kind of reinforce those names.
Now we're going to talk about what we do for our guests. And there's a couple key things. Be there, be visible, be friendly, and be knowledgeable. So now to break it down, being there, what do we mean by that? It means serving when you're scheduled to serve. And if you cannot serve, that's okay. Things come up, people get sick, you have vacation, whatever. But we have on certain teams alternates where you can call and have them fill in. On other teams, we work it out among the team and maybe trade weeks, but there's always a plan, or if we tell us ahead of time or the team later, we can figure out something there. Notify your leader if that alternate is filling in for you, and let that alternate know where our pre-service meetings are, where they're being held. And as you see there, first service is 8:55 in the chapel. Second service, we meet downstairs outside the kitchen at 10:35. Sometimes that one, depending on the length of the service, can be cut a little short. So if for some reason you were to get down there and it's not going on, head on up, get in your spot. But those pass along the information, letting the alternate know where to be and where specifically you're scheduled, and then also letting that team leader know who is filling in for you just helps things to run smoothly on Sunday morning. And again, another way we help people be or help serve by being there is be aware of those around you and what maybe you can do to serve them. Sometimes, you can see people holding their drink and their snack, and it's hard to open a door if they've come out, after services or something, and you're back there. Open the door. Look for ways, small ways. Look for people coming in, kind of with that, for lack of better words, deer in the headlight look. Like, where am I going? Look for people and see, can I help you? Can I help you find your way somewhere? Just make conversation, and it'll naturally flow from there. The next way we can help our guests is by being visible. We have lanyards that have your name front and back, so if they get flipped, you're safe. But wear your lanyards when you're serving, and we also ask that if you don't mind, wear it when you're not serving. It's just more people around the building that they know they can come to and ask questions about North or help get directed to the right place. But at least while you're serving, it's important. Stay in your guest line of sight. We have greeters at the door and then ushers inside the door. But if an usher's around the corner and can't be seen, then they're not getting the bulletin. And the bulletin's one way we communicate a lot of important events. The communication cards, how you as a guest communicate with the church office and prayer requests. So bulletins are very important. We want them to know what's going on in the life of our church. Cover your assigned area unless escorting a guest to another ministry destination. That's when we talked about an usher walking someone to an I-12 area for their children, or an ABF, Adult Bible Fellowship. Knowing to tell someone else to cover your spot while you're gone walking someone is very helpful to our guests. Another way, be friendly. Always wear a smile. So easy. So easy. Just smile. Make eye contact. Offer your hand to shake. Like Andrew said, some people, the touch is so key. A lot of people don't get that. If you know the people and you know they're comfortable, I'm a hugger. Feel free to hug them, but you got to know as you build relationships and you've been serving in the position, you know what people like. Then just simple verbal connections. Hello, my name's Shannon. What's yours? It's good to see you this morning. How long have you been attending North? I always like to compliment the ladies' clothes. Just find something to connect with the kids. Makes a big difference for the parents when they come in. And if you can make the child smile, as Andrea mentioned, by knowing a name, how that impacts a family. Finally, be knowledgeable. And we'll try our best to help you with this area. Help people find what they need is one way. Like we said, walk to, take them, escort them. But utilize reference cards for I-12 areas. There's different ages of kids go to certain classes, and we have reference cards to help you with that. There's all, the different floors in the training center. All that's mapped out on the card for you. Adult Bible Fellowships, who meets where, what service, who's the teacher. All of this is on reference cards. List of current ministries. We have as many as we could think of, and who the leader, and contact information for them, so that we can just do our best to answer any question. And there may be times that you might not know the answer, but somebody on the team is going to have that answer, and we can find that. Also, keep up with current church activities. We mentioned the bulletins. The bulletins or our first impressions email. We do our best. If we know something, we're passing along to the team to help you know and be ready for Sunday mornings.
And now, if you are watching this video, it means you couldn't come to one of our classes. At the classes afterwards, we're going to be doing a tour. But the reason a tour is so important, and we will schedule one for you at another time when we're doing your training. But the reason it's so important, and we keep talking about taking guests to ministry destinations, or restrooms or whatever. If you don't know where they are, you can't help them. So we want to make sure that everybody on our team knows where everything is. And we know that this church can be confusing. And if you may know where your kids go, but you don't know where the other kids go, or where some of the ABFs are. So we want to take you to every part of the church that you might need to help a guest with. So that's why the tour is so important, so that we can better serve our guests. So we will be sure to schedule a time with you to do that.
If there's any questions after the tour, we'll answer those for you. You can see us about those. But we just look forward to getting you involved and getting to know you and coming alongside you and helping you be successful in your position. Thanks and have a great day.